Hello, everyone. This is Yvonne and Lyle. Welcome to our true crime podcast today.
Come on right along, let me tell you a tale.
Hey everyone, welcome to Walking the Blue Line, where we look at a lot of law enforcement type issues and family life. And this week we wanted to do our Christmas special coming up on Christmas. And instead of having a homicide or something so heavy, we thought we'd focus on a Christmas issue.
And this isn't so much a crime. It's what would you think? Or what would you choose? Whose side would you choose, I guess?
Yeah, are you a jolly
Jolly old
elf?
Saint Nick,
Yeah,
or are you more of a bah humbug?
right.
This is a case between homeowners and the Homeowners Association.
And maybe some of you guys have heard about this because there's actually a movie out there called "'Twas the Fight Before Christmas" between the Morrises and their homeowners association.
And this is in Hayden, Idaho, which is very close to us. It's really about 20, 30 minutes away from us.
Yeah, we live real close to where this is all taking place, and it's a fight that's not really quite over yet.
And it started in 2014, but it got notoriety, I guess, in 2018.
Yeah, because the lawsuits were filed and there was a lot of press going on about the things that had led up to this. And the gentleman, Jeremy Morris, he started making a lot of noise in the newspaper. And I don't know if he's titled himself the Christmas lawyer or
That's what he's called, as the Christmas lawyer. And he has an exuberant personality.
Right.
He loves Christmas, over the top. And honestly, I can kind of see both sides of this. I maybe lean more towards the homeowners, but I can see both sides. But I do think, in my opinion, both sides didn't go about this the right way.
Yeah, I think that that's probably more. So what is the real issue is that neither side really tried to accommodate the
No, they
other.
both pushed each other's buttons. They both pushed back in, I think, orthodox ways or something. I mean,
Right.
they just are like poking the bear, both of them.
Exactly. So we go back to 2014, and Jeremy and Christy owned a house in Hayden, but it was a little smaller home. And so they did this huge Christmas display, and they wanted to make it an annual thing. I mean, it was so large that, cars were coming through their neighborhood. There were lines around the block.
Well, and they had a living nativity scene, so live one with an actual camel and a donkey and actors or people that stood out there. They had like the Christmas Vacation, Chevy Chase. It was along those lines. I thought it was actually very pretty, but it did bring a lot of traffic, a lot of people. They were handing out cotton candy and hot chocolate and stuff like that. But they also were taking donations
For
for
charitable.
charitable organizations.
Yeah. And so their vision was to make this even larger when they moved to this new house.
Yeah, so they sold their old smaller house basically so they could have a larger house and a larger display. That's why they moved.
Right. And so as they're looking at this home in an area called the West Hayden Estates, which has a homeowners association, they, of course, wanted to know what all the rules were going to be. So they got a copy of the contract.
Yeah, and Jeremy is a lawyer, and so he went over it, and he didn't find anything that he thought that this would, break the rules in. But he even had two of his friends go over the contract and look at it, and they didn't think that what they were going to do would break any rules.
So upon looking at this, they go ahead and make an offer on the home that they're going to buy, and they notify the homeowners association ahead of time that they were going to do this.
And what it, kind of how they had done the previous year.
Right. So the homeowners association immediately panics and calls a meeting before his house closes.
But they exclude the Morrises. Like they have this emergency meeting, all these people come, but they don't let the Morrises in on this.
Right.
So right there, I feel like,
Yeah. I mean, why not be upfront with these people?
Yeah.
If they're going to be your neighbors,
and they were upfront with you of what
Yeah.
they wanted to do.
Exactly. The Morrises had told them in advance. So why not have a discussion here instead of kind of a backdoor meeting. But at this meeting, they end up showing everyone who's in the HOA pictures of what the previous year's display had looked like. And they spent quite a bit of time talking about what it would do with their own neighborhood and such if they were to hold this there.
And there was a letter that they were putting together that they were going to send the Morrises. It went back and forth between a couple of different people where one person was a little more, I don't know what you want to say, strong word. And the other guy was like, no, we need to approach this a little bit differently. Well, a version went out that wasn't exactly what they thought should have been the best way to approach them. And so that kind of started the feud. And they basically told them, no, you can't do this.
Right. And the version that went out that wasn't fully approved by everyone on the board basically targeted religious beliefs as to how would this look to our atheist friends or homeowners in the area, people that are different views on Christmas and such. So the homeowners association did bring that issue up, whether they meant to or not. And so that goes out in the first letter, which isn't the version that they wanted to send out, but it obviously demonstrates how they were going back and forth trying to formulate this letter in a diplomatic way. But some people definitely felt pretty strong about it.
Strong, yeah. And so this letter the Morses get, and they're obviously upset about this because they've kind of put this, bid in on the house. They're ready to buy, move in, and it just did come across right. And so they decide they're going to go ahead and buy the house anyway, and they're going to do their display anyway.
Yep. And so they move forward with those plans, and they do build a larger and bigger display than what they had at their older house.
Right. Not only do they do that, they have it, and they hire bus drivers to bring the people there and make it more orderly. They had a
Yeah.
route they were going to go and bring people in.
Well, exactly as you said, orderly, organized. I mean,
Mhm.
they're basically trying to make sure that, traffic continues to flow and people aren't blocked out of their homes,
Right.
which is exactly some of the things that the homeowners association was concerned about with the number of people that would be passing through the neighborhood. Could homeowners get to and from their
In
homes?
and out of their driveways and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Is there
Yeah.
going to be a bunch of garbage piling up? All of the
Mhm.
different things that they were concerned about, the Morrises went about trying to address a lot of that.
Yeah. And I mean, I can understand that. Like I said, I can see both sides. I can be understanding to the people who's like, I'm really not into crowds. I don't want a bunch of people in my yard. And I can understand the people is like, yeah, but this is how we want to decorate our house and we want to share Christmas with everybody. I personally would never purchase a house in a HOA. I just wouldn't do it. It's my house, I'm gonna do what I want to do. Their thing was to like keep it orderly, not where you have a beautiful house and then you have a junkyard right next to you. I think that was some of it.
Well, sure, because the whole reason people join HOAs is that they want to make sure that their home values stay at a
Yeah.
certain level, that you don't have a bunch of junk cars parked in the driveway and all kinds of different things that can happen when someone doesn't maintain their property or just kind of doesn't have has a I don't care attitude.
But in some ways, I kind of feel like that it turns into something kind of ugly, really. I mean, you take these neighbors that you have in this community, and all of a sudden you have to keep your grass this height. You can't do this, you can't do that. I mean, and they bury a lot of this stuff in contracts where you don't even get that when you buy your house. You don't get that till later.
Exactly. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there when you talk about how it becomes so controlling. And that's exactly what happened in this situation.
Hmm.
So when they were threatened with legal action, then Jeremy starts to kind of retaliate himself by going around and is now starting to photograph all of the violations that the other neighbors are having.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like yard art and how many dogs you can have, and I mean, it's like, well, he's like, "You're telling me I can't do this, but all of you guys are doing this."
Right. So the retaliation now is escalating,
Yep.
and they even received some death threats. So it's kind of going up in.
To all the way to a court case.
Yeah. We hope that you're enjoying today's podcast.
And if you are, please like, subscribe, and share.
And that's where basically it finally has to go, where the HOA then is going to sue the Morrises for violation of the rules. And they can put a lien on the Morris's house and do all kinds of things.
Charge them a fine.
Yeah. So they have to battle it out in court. So it goes to court, I think, in 2018. And the initial court case actually lands in the Morris's favor.
Yeah, they rule for them and fine the HOA.
Right. So there was kind of three prongs that the Morrises fought this on. The strongest of which is that this was religious discrimination. Based on that first letter that they had received, the fact that they were trying to curtail their display, the Morrises were able to convince a jury that there was religious discrimination going on, and that was one of the biggest reasons. And so they won $75,000.
And that kind of goes back to, they proved that with one of those first letters that they received, that some of the people said, oh, that shouldn't have been the version that went out.
Exactly. So, but there were two other prongs to this that basically had to do with them following the HOA contract, that a judge later then reverses the jury's decision.
Yeah, without anything. He just decides, nope, I'm reversing this judgment. And so now they're fined like $100,000,
like $111,000.
Yeah.
Now they're going to have to pay in attorney's fees. And basically what the judge said was that although there might have been a religious aspect to it, there was more of a reason that the HOA was concerned about the aesthetics and the size of this display, and that was in violation of the HOA contract. And for that reason, they were going to overturn this decision.
Judgment, yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of went from a celebration moment for the Morrises to, oh no,
Yeah, they were to the point where they thought if this judgment went against them, they could potentially lose their house.
Right. Now, I mean, he's an attorney and he's making good money, and he hired an attorney, but I'm sure that he's working on this as well.
But they're also a family, a growing
All right.
family. They're a young couple. They had 2 to 3 kids, and they just have another one. So they've got like 4 kids now. And I mean, it's a family, and you've got bills to pay and stuff.
Once the judgment is reversed, then the Morrises' only option is to appeal the decision again.
Right. So they appeal it.
It's now been appealed to the Ninth Circuit. And the Ninth Circuit finally ruled saying that it could be retried because they found some errors in both the original trial, which went to the jury, and they found some errors with the judge overturning. So they've thought that the only fair way to settle this is to have a retrial. But Jeremy wasn't satisfied with that. There is no decision as to whether the U.S. Supreme Court will hear this because they usually get tens of thousands of cases, and they usually only select about 100 cases a year to review.
So knowing that it's gone back and forth in the courts, and now it's scheduled to possibly go to the Supreme Court, which we kind of both doubt that that's going to happen. But what do you think? What side do you take? Because I can see both sides. And like I said, I lean more towards the homeowners, but I can definitely see the other side.
Yeah, I can too, because we own our home, yet there's some properties not too far from us that I just cringe when I drive by because of how unattractive the property is. There's junk cars sitting all over the property. So I can see some people's attraction to being in the HOA and there being some rules.
I can see that side of it. We own some property that is technically wetlands in some places. Now, not all of it is, and we wanted to put a building out there, and because that it has been designated as a wetlands, they won't let us build there. And we've proven to them that this side of the property does not have water on it, and it hasn't for years. Yet we are in that position where we're having to go by their rules, and we know other people that have had the same thing. Like, we even had to jump through quite a few hoops just to build our barn.
Yeah. I think that this is a an argument that you hear across the US, and I know Florida right now is really working on getting rid of property taxes. And
Mm.
it is frustrating whether you're in an HOA or just on the government end of things that you buy a home and you're charged property taxes and you're told what you can and can't do.
We've proven to them that that part of our property that we want to build a building on doesn't get wet. I feel like with the taxes, you never quite own your property.
You don't. And then when you look at it, if you have an HOA, I mean, it's just another small layer of government,
Yeah.
basically. It's a mini government that's set up. So you got to satisfy your HOA rules. And then if that HOA happens to be within the city limits, you have to meet any city rules. Plus, you have to pay state property taxes. I mean, it's kind of frustrating being a property owner
It
at
is.
times with all of the various layers that you
Well,
have to go through.
even though part of our property is wetlands and part of it isn't, even when we went to just build our barn, which is not very far from our house, we had to jump through so many hoops, as did our neighbors, just to put a barn up. And I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's that side of it,
Mhm.
right? I mean, just the frustration with having to comply with all of these things. But as we already said, at the same time, you don't want to live next to a junk pile and you don't
Right.
want to have people, I mean, across property lines onto your property because their event got too big or something
And
like that.
even though Jeremy went over the paperwork and he didn't find anything and his friends didn't find anything, HOA did tell them, well, we don't agree with this. We don't want you to do this. And they did choose to go ahead and buy the homes. Maybe they should have bought in a different area, but then also maybe the homeowners association shouldn't have been such sticklers. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I can see
So,
both
yeah,
sides.
it's a once a year event.
Yeah.
It's not like it's going to be going on for the other 12 months of the year.
Hmm.
And I think that they could have worked together. The latest update in the papers is that the Morrises are looking at potentially moving out of the state of Idaho, so that they'll abandon this anyway. But I doubt that they'll abandon the court case until they see it all the way through, because this is the possibility of precedent setting.
Yeah. Anyway, my perspective is I wouldn't have bought in a HOA.
Yeah,
Just
I
wouldn't
don't
do
think
it.
I, I wouldn't probably buy in any HOA, but especially after having that first conversation,
Oh,
I think I
yeah.
would have just said, well, maybe this isn't the home for me.
They interviewed Christy, who was the wife, and she's like, well, I wanted to have great neighbors and I wanted to give out cookies and have this great relationship. And I kind of feel like they were sort of segregated, really, by not being included on the very first meeting and then just being told you can't do this, you can't do that. But yet he proved that other people were doing different things.
Right. So, yeah, kind of a sticky situation. And like we said at the beginning, we'd like to know what your thoughts are. And if you would like to leave any comments, as always, click like and subscribe. Let us know what you think about it.
Share.
Share. Yeah. We'll be including our email address in the video. So if you have any direct comments that you want to send to us, you can.
And in the meantime, have a Merry
Have a
Christmas.
very Merry
God
Christmas.
bless everyone.
Exactly. God bless everyone. And we hope to see you on the next one. Bye.